Hello, hello, hello. It's like I've got like a 10-second delay, so I'm never going to know when we're live. But hello, everybody who is here. I'm just going to check my phone to make sure people are joining. So if I go on here, I can see the comments because I can't see it on the StreamYard. Sometimes I can see the comments anyway. So please comment if you are here watching me and Sarah, or just at the moment just watching me mumble along. Me and Sarah were just talking beforehand about this. We're quite excited by this and excited about just kind of getting this conversation out and just having a chat. Me and Sarah have many 45-minute hour-long chats just anyway, so this could turn into a bit of a few detours, which is always more fun. Ah, there you go. I got a comment.
Yay, Liz! Hi, Liz.
Hi, Liz.
Oh, I feel like I'm on the radio.
And Rob.
Shout out to Liz. Shout out to Rob.
Shout out. Liz called me a legend. I was like, oh my god. I feel really empowered. Thank you, Liz. Very kind of you.
You are bestowed with much luck because Liz is a legend.
Yeah. I'm actually hopefully going to be meeting Liz. I think she booked something in.
Good.
So welcome to our Wellbeing chat. I think it's been a couple of weeks since the last one we did. And it'll probably be a couple of weeks before the next one. But today we are talking about wellbeing strategies in the workplace, and everything wellbeing plans, which I think is probably a vital thing. And I think I'll be speaking to more companies and more people this year that are looking or are creating strategies now around this. And I think over the last 2 years with COVID, the two things it has done is brought awareness and brought a need for wellbeing at work. But the one thing it probably hasn't done is people will understand what to do and how to do it. So this is why I think the strategies in this conversation could be really vital and important for many companies. But before I get into that, let me just quickly say hello to Sarah, because she's just sitting there spinning in her chair. Sarah has been in the wellbeing industry for too many years, probably. I don't even know, so I'll let her do that. But currently works for Wellbeing with Carey, but has also worked with other wellbeing professionals and for mine for a little time as well as being a teacher. And if you look behind her, an incredible artist, which I'm still waiting for my piece to go on my wall somewhere. But we'll discuss about that later on, Sarah. Anyway, say hello to Sarah. Sarah, hello to everybody else.
Hello, everybody. Do you want me to do a bit of an intro with my background?
Yes, please.
Sure. So I have indeed been in this space for a very long time, and it's a privilege. It's a privilege to have been in the workplace wellbeing space for a long time, because I think I got in, realistically, I've been working with organizations for 15 years where it comes to creating healthy workplaces. But I had the privilege of joining Mind about 8 years ago as a program manager for the Time to Change campaign. And during that role, and I really do see it as being an amazing privilege, because during that role, they really gave us a lot of autonomy to really push and discover what we could do to eliminate the stigma attached to speaking openly about mental health problems in the workplace. So at Mind, I got to work with over 800 organizations personally to help them develop their wellbeing strategies and help them to really think about how do we get these conversations started and how do we make workplaces psychologically safe to do so, and also unpicking why that's so important. And that was an incredible 4 years of my life. Doing that kind of work. And then after that work, I was the director of the Inside Out Charter for Rob Stevenson, who is the founder of the Inside Out Leaderboard and also the founder of FormScore, which is fantastic. And I just have so much love for every single thing that Rob does, because he's a remarkable person and really devoted and values driven, which is probably the two things that I would say that I am as well: devoted and values driven. And I now currently work for Wellbeing with Carey, which is an AI. So it's completely about how do we accurately tell how people are thinking and feeling in order to inform. So we collect lots of granular data, but it's in order to inform how we can have preventative care with human beings to make sure that we're not just addressing the the knee-jerk sort of let's quickly help the person in crisis, but actually how do we strategically, and this is where I'll bring it all back to what we're talking about today, how do we strategically look at creating mentally safe and mentally healthy workplaces? And that should go hand in hand. I mean, I know that I focus on the mental health stuff, and Richard and I talk about this all the time. Yes, my expertise is in the area of cultural change where it comes to mental health problems, but all of these things are interlinked. You cannot be mentally well without also being as well as you can physically, financially, socially. So all of these things feed into each other. And the work that I do at Wellbeing with Carrie is about making sure that we're helping with strategy, measuring impact, data. So I'm going to bang on about data. Get used to me saying that. And I've only just learned how to say data instead of data. So congratulations to you all. I'm still saying 6 instead of 6. I don't know what the difference is, but there you go. But that's the number 6, by the way, just for those of you listening. So
you're proper pom now.
I know. I'm trying my best. It's only been 16 and a half years. Anyway, yes, lots of experience, probably about 8 years experience working in the workplace wellbeing field. I'm completely driven to change the world, to make it a safer place for us to speak openly about mental health problems, and to try and help somebody every day if I can.
I love that. Fantastic. I mean, I definitely couldn't have given your introduction about you, apart from saying you're amazing, and have been a support to me throughout the 3 years I've been in this field. Whenever we did meet. So there are a few questions. I know, and when I thought about wellbeing strategy, I thought about what kind of questions I can ask. To understand it to its fullest, but also give the best advice. And so rather than I thought actually the best place to start is just what is wellbeing strategy? What do you think, why do you think it's important? So what is a wellbeing strategy and why do you think it's important?
So a wellbeing strategy so first of all, you can't have a strategy without data. So I said that I was going to go on about data, and I'm true to my word. You cannot have a strategy without data. If you don't collect data and you don't understand what's going on in the first place, all you're going to do is guess. And guessing is not strategic. Guessing is hard work, and guessing is how you hemorrhage money. So a strategy is something that is being planned as in response. It's a living, breathing thing. It's in response to what's going on. And you need to have an idea of where you want to go with the strategy. So what do you want to achieve? Otherwise, what you're just doing is kind of a scattergun approach. I've worked with a load of organizations who have all the best will in the world, but without a strategy, they're often offering up these lovely interventions like Yoga Fridays or have a duvet day. Like, these are lovely interventions. These are really wonderful things, but they're not necessarily responsive unless they're stitched into a strategic approach. So a strategy should be something that you basing on real facts, so data driven, and a strategy should also be measurable. And it needs to be, so this is going to come back to data again. You need to be able to measure it because you need to know where you're going right and where you're going wrong, where you need to change. And a strategy should also not be too rigid. It should be more of a framework, something that you're aiming to deliver against that might change. So as a classic example, an organization I was working with 3 years ago had to completely turn on their let's use the name. So I was working with Tesco, and they're incredible. Now, Tesco had this incredible strategy plan forward. They're an amazing organization, by the way, because they have a department devoted to looking at the well-being of their staff. And they've got their plans at least a year in advance. They've got training plan, they've got well-being days, they've got physical health, they've got mental health, financial health, they've got it planned in different quarters of the year, they've got delivery planned all a year in advance. When COVID hit, they had to be able to have the flexibility to kind of halt, come back together, stop, collaborate, and listen. This is for my old friends out there. And they had to be able to kind of turn around and go, right, we have to halt what we had planned, and now we have to alter it to make sure that we're going to be responsive to what's actually going on out there, and the needs of what we're being told the needs are. So they were able to quickly they were able to ask for the data, address it with surveys. What are your deepest concerns now that this has happened in the first 2 weeks of lockdown, for example? And what they got back was anxieties related to finances, anxieties related to job loss, anxieties related to the partner of the person losing their job because their partner was the main earner. So they were able to kind of flip their strategy and say, actually, it's financial well-being, which is going to be the very first thing that we need to tackle here. So a strategy needs to be responsive to need, which can only happen when it's data-driven, and it also needs to be something that's flexible. And it's so important for organizations to have a strategy, because I'm all about return on investment. I'm about let's prove that to the world that a healthy workforce is more productive and will earn more money and make your business better. I want to be able to prove that, and you can't prove that unless you're collecting data along the way, unless you're measuring impact. You can't prove that the things that you're doing are fixing that unless you're measuring. So there we go. We need the strategies.
We need more data is what you mean.
We need more data. Well, we need the data because, and if you break it down to something really simple, like a relationship. So you're dating someone. If you're embarking on a relationship and you never know where they're at, it puts you in quite a fragile space, makes you feel quite vulnerable because you're not sure, are they where I'm at? What's going on? Like in any relationship, you need to be able to have that lovely understanding of where everybody's at in order to develop and grow it. Otherwise, it can kind of spin out. So yes, it is.
And I also think you can't put something together for a company if you don't know what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it, and it doesn't need to be. I think data can scare people. All it could be is a survey. It could be asking people. It could be having those conversations and just calculating them pieces together. Saying actually, from conversations we've had in our one-to-one calls, our guys seem a bit lonely. How can we rectify it? These guys, or just sending those little surveys out. What would you like? Asking those questions because
this is the thing.
It's just guessing. Then your ROI is crap because actually people aren't interested in a duvet Friday, which actually probably is just work from home Friday, which we're all doing now anyway.
Yeah. Well, the working from home bit, like, so I love I work with some amazing organizations that will have a working from home duvet day. If they have it in addition to other things, strategically to other things, I'm all for it. But I have come across organizations who say, no, we're doing a really good thing. Look at us. We offer 2 duvet days a year. Who else does that? We're looking after well-being. And what I'm thinking is, if you employ 1,000 people and you're offering a duvet day, that's costing your organization a minimum of 25 grand a day. So that's 50 grand. You could take that 50 grand and you could spend that on something else that goes throughout the year that actually can kind of actively and measurably impact someone's life. So, and this is, by the way, this is not, and I heard Sarah talking to Richard and she said, throw away the duvet days. Don't throw away the duvet days. They're great. It's just about thinking strategically what's working and what's not.
I just personally, on that, I just think there's better options, as you said. If it's going to cost your company 25 grand to get everybody to have a day off, and after you're giving them days off for sick or holidays, well, if you have to encourage someone to have a better balance by giving them a day off, you're probably not really starting this in the best place anyway. If you don't give your company an autonomy, the individual's autonomy to do their best work, if that means they can have a bit of a lay-in and feel comfortable to do that, then you're probably not starting at the best place anyway. That's what well-being is for me. It's having a good, as you know, autonomy coming into work.
Yeah, exactly. I've just seen Rob just posted a really good point here. Best data trends for me come from our EAP provider. So they do a good EAP. So I've got like mixed feelings on EAPs, and I'm a very transparent person, so I'm not going to hide it, but I'm also not going to be rude because EAPs save lives. So I love EAPs when they're used. And they do, like, really good EAPs will collect really good data. And there's some really incredible EAPs who work in conjunction with people like Thrive UK. They're a really amazing provider that work alongside EAPs. And collecting this data is really important. They do it. But it's whether or not they're collecting data from everyone or if they're only collecting data from the people that contact the EAP. And the reason I bring this up is that EAPs are awesome when they're used. But I don't know if anyone listening has ever been mentally unwell before. But I certainly have been. I talk about it all the time. Find me on LinkedIn. I'll share how mentally unwell I am with you. Very open about it. But when I was mentally unwell and really needed to use an EAP service, I first of all didn't know who our EAP service provider was. I did not know how to find them. And I don't think that I would have had the mental capacity or the capability to actually reach out and contact them myself. And I think that can be quite a problem. Like when I work with organizations and they say we've got an EAP provider, and I'm like, that's fantastic. How do people know that they exist? How can they get them? I love that, Rob. And good EAPs, just treasure them. They're so good to find. And some really good EAP providers, and I've talked with when I'm advising an organization on who to use and how to use them, I'll be like, well, get them to come in and educate your staff on how they can find them and the services they offer, because they often don't just offer services to individuals who work for that organization. They'll do it for partners. They'll do it for the partners, for the children or other family members. And they're there to offer all manner of advice as well. But often people aren't in a place where they can reach out when they need them. And had someone said to me, why haven't you called the EAP provider when I was in a state of really poor mental health? I would have been really upset at myself again that I couldn't even do that. Like, oh, what a loser. But yeah, the EAP, they're really good people to collect data. But other really good places, unexpected good places to collect data or ways to collect data, your health and safety. So mental health does actually fall under health and safety. There is a stress risk assessment that's part of the HSE, and that should be carried out, I think it's twice a year minimum. But that's a really interesting place to get data because it's a mandatory part of reporting your health and safety. So that's a really nice place to do it. Go with a provision like Champion Health. I'm going to promote them before I even promote Carrie, because I love to be collaborative and I love to really uplift people. But something like an app like Champion Health or Wellbeing with Carrie is like, I think it's perfect for collecting your data, because it's really like granular and looks at loads of things. But also other organizations that are really good to work with that should be measuring. I know that FICA measure really well as well, and they're sort of a slightly different delivery model. But yeah, you can go with an external place. Just make sure that whoever you're using is helping you to collect that data and then helping you to interpret it, because you can have all the data in the world, but unless you're going, actually, we thought that everybody just was feeling unmotivated across the board, but actually it's just this department and they all hate their line manager. That's an incredible thing, but what are you going to do with that information and how are you going to resolve it? So yeah, collect data and also analyze data.
Do you work for a data company, Sarah, by any chance?
Much more than a data company. Oh, and I tell you what, though, it's funny that you say that, because I met Maria Pavia, who's the founder of Wellbeing with Carrie, and I met her when I was doing a chat for CIPD. I wonder did you come to that? I'm not sure if you came to that chat or not, but this was a couple of years ago. I did a chat for CIPD, and it was about how we could start wellbeing strategies. And I was really there to give really top tips on how to do it affordably, because that's a real problem for organizations. Where do I find the budget? Like, I know I want to provide this incredible workspace for our people, but I'm not sure how to do it or how to begin that strategy. So I was doing a big chat about that for CIPD, and the whole way through it, I was just like, but if you don't have data, what do you have? And Wellbeing with Carrie, Maria got in touch with me and told me about Wellbeing with Carrie, and I fell in love with it because it's the only piece of tech, it's the only thing I've ever seen that accurately, to 96% accuracy, and that's not a measurement from 2,000 users, that's from 35,000 users, that it's 96% accurate in the way that it analyzes how people think and feel. And it's the only piece of tech that can identify accurately presenteeism. So for me, I was like, whoa, that's incredible, because yes, we need to be responsive to people who are unwell, but presenteeism is the thick green fog that stops us from working well. And it's the highest part of the cost to employers in the UK. So employers are, the Deloitte figures say that it costs an employer something like £1,800 per person per year, and that's conservative, the cost of mental ill health. And the majority of that is the cost of presenteeism. So when Maria came to me and said this can accurately find presentees and help them to not be presentees, I was in love. I was like a cartoon, Google. I was like, yeah, I love that. I want to know more. So yeah, and because prevention, it's all about, this is exactly why you do what you do, Richard, because you are all about prevention over cure. Like, prevention is the cure.
Yeah, for sure. It's just education for me. It's just providing people with the best tools to be the best selves. But we sidetrack. We don't need to talk about how good I am or the company is anyway.
I love what you do. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here.
That's true. Thank you. I love you too. So, that was a good 20-minute sidetrack. These 4 questions are going to be quick answers. So obviously, starting with data. Once you receive the data, what for you is the next part?
Well, the next part is the analysis, and I think that's where. This is where my heart breaks when it comes to staff surveys. And you'll hear like, oh, I love it when the big guns come out. Like Jeff McDonald will talk about engagement in staff surveys as being the number one thing that you need to do. And I love hearing him do that, because it's so true that yes, we need to have this. We need to get the staff engagement surveys, and it needs to be across the board from as many people as possible to get in. But unless you're analyzing that data appropriately and quickly, it only captures a picture of what was once before. So the staff survey or an engagement survey, it's great that you can get that data, but if you're not moving quickly and then reacting quickly to it. So what often happens is you send out a staff survey and someone will sit down and complete the survey. And then that information goes into a big tank with all the other information, and they wait, and it can take sort of a week or 2 weeks, and nudges, did you do your staff survey? Did you do your staff survey? And you get 30% of your workforce completing your staff survey. And then somebody in HR has to sit down and collate all of that information. And then they have to extrapolate, well, what does this mean? And then they present it to the board at the next board meeting. And then 6 months later, you release to staff, you say, oh, this is what you said 6 months. This is how everyone was feeling 6 months ago. And then it's the job or the task of the person in HR who's collated this information to come up with a plan. And the problem with that is it's all a bit delayed, and it's also not necessarily accurate, because it's not necessarily representative of the people in your organization that might need the most help. Because the people that are answering these surveys, they're the people that are already engaged. And what you want to do is capture a real picture of, well, who's not engaged? How do I get them? How do I uplift them? What kind of working environment is going to uplift these people so that they're also engaged? So I think that we need to think about how we're collecting data, and we need to think about how we're putting it out there. So I often say, if you get do 2 all staff or engagement surveys a year, unless you want to come and work with us, and we'll sort it out for you. But do at least 2 a year, and make them as mandatory as you can. Put them underneath the health and safety risk assessment. Say that we absolutely have to do this, and try and capture as much data as possible, and then do something really quickly in response to it. Make your surveys for the people, not necessarily for the organization. So it's not about what you're reporting. It is about, you said, we're going to do.
Yeah, for sure. And you do see it within companies quite a lot, is you have, and I have this obviously within the role I have, is you speak to somebody and then 3 or 4 months later you then begin to get that sign up. And if you're doing a survey, that takes sometimes even longer. Get the feedback, giving them an opportunity to have a look at what you've done. You created something for them. Then there's a few tick boxes and a few steps to go through, hurdles to jump over, and then that begins to get put in place. And as you said, by then it's 3 or 4 months later, and depending on the weather, how active they've been at that time, how much sleep they get in, the winter, all that kind of stuff, it can all affect the results you've put in. So by the time summer comes around, actually everybody's in a better mood, and being more active doesn't need to happen so much because they're already outdoors because the weather's a bit better. So yeah, it does need to be a regular thing, but also kind of a quick to react thing as well, right?
Definitely. And being responsive doesn't have to be expensive. And I think that like, it's, when you talk about things like being active, it is, for me, it's the number one way to good health for me. I never thought that I'd be sat here. I've always counted, well, not always. When I was younger, I used to count myself as being quite a lazy person, but maybe I was just lazy by New Zealand standards. Because I've also always been in outdoorsy. New Zealand's really outdoorsy, so I'm quite outdoorsy.
The weather's nice out there, isn't it? So I understand that.
Yeah, exactly. And there's lots to do. Like, there's always activities to do, kayaking and sailing and whatever. But there's the getting outdoors thing. It is the number one thing, I think, for improving my mental health. And in fact, I put a post up the other day. I had an anxiety attack, and thank you again for getting in touch with me personally about that. For everyone out there, I had an anxiety attack about 10 days ago on a Saturday, 10, 11 days. I don't know how long ago it was now. And I tried all of that. So I work in mental health and wellbeing, and I also have had therapy. I read things here and there about ways to get me well. So when I felt this anxiety coming on, I didn't just go, well, I guess I'll just take it. I did all the things. I was like, oh, do the breathing, do the mindfulness. I was like, do bends, which is like, I was like, oh, I know that if you do this, and then if you do this, and if you do the tapping, whatever. I tried loads of things and nothing worked. And then I was there and I was crying. I was like, ooh, all in anxiety. And I was like, right, it's going to have to happen. I have to get outside, because I knew that getting outside and walking, right, so the blood's going around my body, and it's regular. You get outside and walk, something amazing happens, because it's a neurological thing. First of all, your brain goes into automatic, because you don't think when you're walking, I'm going to go left, right, left, right, left. You don't think, oh, I must engage my toes and my heels to do this. It happens on automatic. The blood starts to pump around your body, and you start to breathe in a natural rate, because you're getting your heart rate up. And it makes you feel better, because physically it is helping to calm you down. And it's helping to calm down your amygdala, which is on full alert that you're in danger when you're outside and you're proving, no, I'm just walking like a normal person. I am fine. And it helps you to get into a calm place, and for your prefrontal lobe to kind of engage again and say, it's all right. We got this. We know how to do this.
So I also think you did two other things. Well, from the message I spoke to you and the message you put up and the post you put up, you did two other things which I thought also helps you for that. You got outside a bit, did a bit of exercise and got a bit active. Although I'm still 50-50 whether I class walking as exercise.
How dare you?
I'll clear that one up in another time.
Okay.
The other two bits you did is you reached out to a friend, social interaction, and then secondly spoke out.
Yeah.
And them three things can be so powerful.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that was why I shared that post, because I realized that little text exchange just so perfectly illustrated how easy it is to reach out, and the instant response, the instant that I did, and I received that message back, I started to feel better.
Yeah.
And I also shared that message because the way that my friend responded to me was
Brilliant.
without judgment. It wasn't offering advice. He didn't say, have you tried a lavender pillow? Although I don't actually want to diss lavender pillows because I do like them. So just like for all the lavender pillow enthusiasts out there, I am one too, but not in that context. But he didn't try and offer me any advice. He didn't try and help me. He wasn't trying to be a hero. He just simply said, that's crap. I'm going to come and get you. Like, it's okay. And he was we, because it was him and his wife and his 2 children. They came and they walked with me, and it was amazing. So I just kind of wanted to share that on LinkedIn to say, look how easy it is. You can just help someone easily.
Yeah. Did you find just we're way off Wellbeing strategies. Did you find just messaging that person saying I felt like crap helpful?
Yeah.
No, without the response, just putting it into words and then sending it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Sharing the load. And that's what team is. That's what social interaction is for me.
So I think that in that context, it serves, just reaching out and saying I'm struggling, just even saying it out loud. It is helpful. And in a way, so I've got mixed feelings on social media in general, because I don't think it's good for us.
Nope.
But I also see it as being a connector. And let's talk about social media in its greatest form as being a connector. But I know that there are people out there in my life who aren't necessarily comfortable picking up the phone and talking to someone, but they'll put a status update up on Facebook, or they'll share a poignant meme or something on Instagram, or they'll say something via social media because it makes them feel better to feel heard, or they feel heard by someone out there. So that process of just saying something, recognizing what it is, and also that it's really human. Like I think mental health, poor mental health, is really human. And as much as I would like to say, I've been to therapy now and I will live the rest of my days in perfect mental health, well, that's not really the human experience. No. What I can try and do is manage it really well when it comes up.
My brother signposted me to I think it's the grey dog or the black dog story. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that kind of concept. The fact it's always there, it's just bigger or smaller.
Black dog.
Yeah. Anyway, back to topic at hand.
Sure.
So you've analysed this, and I was going to mention this anyway. I remember I always have this story that you remember saying. You could have even said the CIPD one, the Wellbeing buffet table.
Oh yeah.
There is this, and I've got this there. I've got a whiteboard above me, and I've drawn a table and even named it. But I think it kind of falls into a piece of what I'm going to talk about now. Is once you've analysed it and you've trying to put this together, this strategy, what do you think a wellbeing strategy needs to have?
Okay, so I think that it needs to be reflective to external life. So a wellbeing strategy can't be siloed in an organization. I think that that your powerful wellbeing strategy will be aligned to what else is going on out there, because the greater the noise in the echo chamber and so forth. So I think that the first thing that you can do is think about what's already going on out there in the world. Like, what kind of campaign days are running? What's important? Like, so as a classic, in May, it's Mental Health Awareness Week. I think it's from May 12th to the 18th or something. I'm not sure of the dates this year, but Mental Health Awareness Week. So that's actually a week where you've got things going on TV, you've got shows being promoted on Channel 4, documentaries about mental health, you've got things going on social media. So you're going to have lots of external noise. So why don't you lean in and reflect what's going on there? So May, you do stuff for mental health. You have the same with physical health, with autism awareness. You have the same with nutrition. You've got lots and lots of different things going on. So echo what's going on out there. But I do think that the easiest way to start your strategy is to think of your year in 4 parts. So think of it as social, financial, physical, and mental health. So, right? But I do think that
I'm so glad you mentioned the 4 pillars. I'm saying
but the 4 pillars are really, they make your strategy easy. Like it's your little offering on a plate, right? So whether or not you want to do them in quarters over the year, or if you want to do them sort of several times throughout the year, I mean, that would work really well as well, or do them over the months. But the idea is that if you hinge them around those key topics, you can put anything in there. So if you're saying, right, this quarter, you know what, it's the last quarter of the year, and it's leading up to the holiday break and Christmas, and it's also leading into winter. Let's look at that as being social. So for 3 months, we're going to call this part of our wellbeing strategy. That's going to be our social one. And what do we want to have in that? Well, we want to really focus on why social is important, and we want to really look at different activities around that. So we're going to get people into groups, and we're going to get people talking to each other, and we're going to set little cool things for them to do where they can speak to each other, or we'll bring in somebody to come and help to talk about why social health is so important, or we'll have a message board where colleagues can share meeting up with each other, and like share a photograph of meeting up with each other, and we'll collaborate, and we'll showcase that, and that's what we'll do in those months. And then the following month, well, that's the quarter is January through to March. Let's focus on financial health, because we all know January is like about 7 weeks long, and it's like the hardest time ever. And by the end of January, I'm like, how do I only have £1? £1 for the next 2 weeks? And it's like, that's when I need my financial advice. So, you know, and so you get that financial well-being kind of stuff going on. And there's some amazing things out there, like Let's Improve Workplace Wellbeing. If you're not following that, have a look at hashtag Let's Improve Workplace Wellbeing, one of the greatest network groups ever that looks at and supports that. Rich and I are part of that group as well, and we do help and support with those, with their events and also the stuff they're doing. But there's some really good stuff there for the financial stuff. Then you need the physical health. Why not the lead up to summer? That's your quarter for physical health. I mean, how could that not be more perfect? Where we're looking at things, and physical health could look at the nutrition side of things. You can look at seasonal food. You could do, when it comes to wellbeing, I've worked with an organization that did a really great food and mood event, and they did, it was Split the Bills, Nadine Warburton. So just props to you, Nadine, if you're out there. They did a food and mood thing where somebody came in and talked about the history of spices and how food impacts mood. How cool is that? And you can talk about nutrition and the whole part of it as well. So I think that, yeah, basing your strategy around those 4 pillars gives you a really easy things to theme against, and really wonderful things to do, as long as you're measuring.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think if you can, once you've got past the first 2 stages, using the key dates, using the 4 pillars, however you want to do that, whether you want to do it in quarters, whether you want to do it in this week, this month, and you just keep changing the subject, however it is, as long as you're looking at the 4 pillars, it's vital.
Yeah.
And I know this question or topic or this area of this is probably going to be one of the bits you really care about most, because of the work you've done with Inside Out leadership.
Mm-hmm. The Inside Out leaderboard.
There you go. It's the buy-in from the senior leaders in on this strategy and in on this, because putting together a wellbeing strategy is fantastic. But if it's not bought into on all levels, senior leaders is obviously vitally important, because everything kind of trickles down. It's not going to work.
Yeah. So you need a business case for that, and please feel free to get in touch with me if you want help or support with your business case, and completely hustle free. I really do like to help people with pulling together the business case, because I've got so much experience in it. To get senior leadership buy-in, there's 2 major things. So there's 3. Okay, the first one is because it's the right thing to do. And I remember speaking at Windsor Castle, and I was on a panel, and we were speaking to a group of leaders from the Thames Valley Chamber, and someone was saying, what do we need for senior leaders? And I was talking about evidence that it improves performance, and evidence about a return on investment, and the fact that you will save money. Even if for every dollar you invest in this, dollar still from New Zealand, for every pound you invest, you will get £7.50 return. Like that's the return on investment that they've calculated. And if someone could drop the latest Deloitte results, Liz, in the comments to share there, that would be amazing. But I was saying this, and then I had this senior leader sort of hesitantly put up his hand, and he said, shouldn't we be doing it because it's the right thing to do? And I was like, we're here. Like, I had this little bright light, like, it's happening. They just want to do it because it's the right thing. This is the best news I've ever heard in my life. So yes, first of all, it's the right thing to do. And you can make a business case that states it's the right thing to do. But second of all, you want to be able to show that whatever it is that you're doing is going to improve performance, because that's why we go to work. We go to work to collaborate in this cycle of performance. We love to perform highly. We're at our best when we're in a position where we can. People love performing well. It makes us feel good. And then when we're performing well, our organization is performing well. It's a beautiful cycle. So should proof or evidence that what you're doing is going to improve performance, collect the data. So you can prove it through data collection, and then proof or evidence that what you're doing is going to save money or have a return on investment. So if your organization has 800 staff, you can guess that you're losing around, oh gosh, what's eight? Do some quick maths, Richard. It's not my point, but you can save £8 million if you've got that many staff. I think it is per year.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money.
You're losing £1,800 per employee.
Yeah.
Did you have to start with 8? Could you not start with like 1,000?
It's
not easy to work out 1,000.
I just chucked it out there. I don't know why. Okay, don't worry about it. Anyway, it's loads of money. But if you can prove that evidence of the money, and then you can prove after a year that there's an improvement. So again, data collection. Data is your friend, because it is the thing that's going to help you to prove that the work that you're doing has meaningful impact, not only on the individual, because yes, it's the right thing to do, but also on the organization, because look at how much we can save. Look at what we're doing here. I know that I work with so Lee Walker Ellis, I always give him a shout out because he does the most amazing work for Southeastern Rail, and he has been working. He's been measuring the impact, financial impact of the interventions against mental ill health. He's been measuring that, and last year he saved the organization over £1 million, and he could calculate that and say, this is what I've saved just in interventions. So think of it this way, just in terms of let's put it into a narrative, into a story. So someone who is very stressed or in a really poor mental health, and they're really, really stressed, and that can impact their body physically, and they finally get so sick that they go to a doctor, they go to a GP, and the GP says, you are really unwell. I'm going to sign you out of work for 2 weeks. So that's a cost to an employer of, say, $5,000. Who knows, like before all of that stuff. The cost is quite big, because if you think about somebody being out of work for 2 weeks, not only is that person not in work performing, doing the thing that earns your organization money, but that means that their teammates are going to half perform because they're having to pick up the slack. So you're losing money there as well. Now, that person coming back into work, the approach to coming back into work, if it's not handled properly, the stress and the anxiety of thinking, I'm going to have to go back to work, I'm going to have to face the music, I've let down my team, I've let down my boss, let down all my colleagues, I'm worried about it's going to be the same when I get back in as it was before, what if it keeps going, will often make that person so anxious that they won't return to work. So it will be another 2 weeks signed off. So the cost then is $10,000 to that one, for that one person going out. Now, imagine an intervention. So that person still gets signed out for 2 weeks, but you change up your approach to them, and you make sure that they understand that they're sick, they need to be at home, and that the team has got their back, and there's a contingency for you being sick. Don't worry, we've got this. You just need to get well. And then in the week before you return, 3 days before you return, you get an email, or you get a phone call or a text, and you get whatever it is that works well for you, because on your induction, when you first joined the organization, they said, if you ever go out sick, how would you best like to be communicated with? So you get the thing that comes in and they say, we are really looking forward to welcoming you back. Do know that you can come back in whenever you want. Your first day, don't worry too much about it. We're just pleased that you're back. Come in at whatever time. We can work out what times are going to work for you as you return to work. You get, by those interventions, to save yourself thousands of pounds by making sure that that person feels like they're in a place where they can confidently come back to work, and they can come back on a phased return if they want to. And you save loads of money. So you can actually prove that kind of intervention helps to save things. And that person doesn't leave in 6 months because they've had such a hard
time. They don't enjoy where they go to work.
Exactly. There's a lot of knock-on effects from the impact.
Imagine adding interventions which prevent all of that.
I know. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the dream, and that's the work that you do and the work that I do.
Yeah. The idea of what we try to do anyway, right? Like, I don't think it's ever going to go away, but given the tools to manage it a bit better within ourselves is the key part, right?
Well, exactly. And that I'm proof is in the pudding. I had the first anxiety attack I've had in 3 years. I work in wellbeing. I do all the right things. I have excellent nutrition, beautiful relationships, and I do all the right things, and I still had an anxiety attack because for me, maybe it's not going to always, may never come back, but it might. The best thing that I can do is manage it. The best thing that happened to me is that I was able to speak to work about it. I was able to speak openly to my friends about it. I was able to get immediate support. My workplace my boss said to me, what can we do to help support your work? And I was like, it's not a work thing. I just didn't know which shoes to wear, and I was worried about the noise. It's like, I'm okay. But I had all of that, which only makes things better.
Yeah, no, completely agree. It happens to all of us, right?
Yeah.
I talk about stress management, and I'm going to put a post up in a couple of days, couple of weeks, wherever it is, just about, I get eczema. My eczema flares up when I'm more stressed, but sometimes that stress is good stress, but it still happens.
Yeah.
So it's just what it is, right? So we're at like 46 minutes, and normally I kind of 45, but it's been a good chat, so I'm going to carry on. And ask one last question for you, Sarah.
Okay.
What can people do today, right now, for wellbeing strategies?
So, well, it depends on what your role is. If your role is somebody who is really interested in mental health, and you're an employee and you're a champion, one of the things that you can do is just flick an email to your HR or head of wellbeing, if you're lucky enough to have one, and ask to see it and say, do we have a wellbeing strategy? I would really like to be involved. Because as much as senior leadership is a vital part of this, because your leadership team should dictate the culture of your workplace. So they are a vital part of this. Wellbeing strategies are not an HR-driven thing. They are a cultural thing. And so they need to have a grassroots movement. So if you're not currently in HR, but you're just interested in wellbeing and mental health, ask to get involved. Talk to your line manager and say, I really want to get involved in this. Can we add it as a KPI? See what you can do as an individual to get involved with the wellbeing strategy. If you don't have a wellbeing strategy, ask if you can get involved with creating one. And if you are somebody in HR, or if you are in charge of the wellbeing strategies and you're listening today, then have a look at your strategy and think, is this hitting those 4 pillars? Are we being reactive? How are we collecting data? Is it measurable? Do we have is our wellbeing strategy reflected in our policy? So I remember I used to be really afraid of this because I thought policy was like a legal word, and I was really scared. I was like, oh God, I'm going to have to advise people on policies. But policy is literally embedding culture, and it's kind of like a dedication, right? So what's going on with your policies? Do they reflect your wellbeing strategy? And when I say that, I mean, you say if you've got a wellbeing strategy and you're devoted to making the workplace safe or psychologically safe for people, or if you are your wellbeing strategy says we're interested in the health of all of our people, because healthy people mean a healthy business. Well, is that reflected in your policies? Is that reflected in your recruitment strategy? Is it mentioned anywhere in your induction? And these kinds of things are really easy to do. So that's what I would do today. Or I also like to call this, I'm just going to go off on one slightly, sorry, Richard, but it's a nice little metaphor. So I do talk about your wellbeing strategy, or as being sort of the table beneath the banquet. So if you imagine the banquet, there we go, your table. So your banquet, you've got yoga on Fridays, and you've got your running club over here, and you've got meditation Mondays, and you've got really great learning and development.
They have to rhyme as well. They have to rhyme.
They have to, yeah, they've got to be like alliterations. And you've got all of these lovely things that you can do. Your wellbeing strategy is the table that carries all of these, so that people can come and select these things. I think the other analogy I'm going to use is I call it the stock take. So the beautiful thing is that over time, if your organization isn't brand new, you've probably got loads of things already in the cupboard. So you should go to your cupboard and say, well, what do we already have here? Especially if you're new to the company. Let's say you've just come in and you're like, it's my job to get on with this wellbeing strategy. What am I going to do? First thing you should do is have a look at what you already have. Check out, do we already have an EAP? Brilliant. Do you have an insurance provider that also offers a plethora of things that nobody's accessing because nobody ever knew that existed? Because that happens as well. Do you have material that some genius from learning and development 3 years ago wrote about managing stress in the workplace that was only accessed once, that you can revive and bring back to life? So do a nice little stock take. That's what you can do today. Check, what do I already have in the cupboard? And then you can think about, what do I need to add to this cupboard to make your beautiful ingredients for your banquet?
Banquet. That's what I need to change it. I've got a wellbeing buffet table. I need to change it to banquet table.
Oh,
the nice thing about a table is it's got 4 legs, and you could use that analogy for the 4 pillars of wellbeing.
Absolutely.
Even better. Sarah, thank you. I knew this was going to be a lot of fun, and I knew we were going to run over, but I don't care. I hope everybody's found that useful. Thanks for giving me all your advice and chatting with me today. You can obviously find Sarah on LinkedIn. This is on LinkedIn, obviously. All of my social media and all the stuff we've done, Sarah's there. If you want to find out a bit more about Wellbeing with Kerry, please just send her a message. She loves talking, as you could tell. Also, if you want to buy any of her art, because it's gorgeous, you can do that as well, because she does sell it.
Check out my Instagram.
Yeah. But what's the Instagram again?
It's Sarah Restall Artist.
There you go. I do follow it, but I don't remember the handle. And if you want to have a chat with me, obviously you can do. I don't bite, and I can help you with strategy planning or looking at what surveys say. And I'm obviously connected to wonderful people like Sarah if I ever need any help.
Exactly. Thanks so much, Richard.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining me again, and I will see you all next 2 weeks, 3 weeks time. Whenever I get, I'll pull my finger out for the next one.
Brilliant.
See you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.